Welcome to the Point. Next month, you'll be asked to go to the polls in an election cycle that will receive considerably less attention than the one last November. Still, there will be important issues to decide and one race for a state Senate seat. To talk about the primary and general elections for this year, we invited Kent County Clerk Lisa Posthumus Lyons to walk us through the process. Let's start by setting up the last election cycle, the presidential race. It was the first race that new rules for voting, registration, absentee ballots, a lot of things had changed. And you add to that some real extreme passions on both sides and COVID. And it set up for a remarkably complex and for many people frustrating election cycle. We're not here to relitigate that. What we're here to talk about is the most off-year of off-year elections, because here we are when generally there would be no state house seats up, no state senate seats, not a governor's race, not a presidential race. It is a little different in Kent County this year because we do have a special senate race, and we'll talk about that. But as county clerk, talk to the people out there who are wondering about voting, because there were some big changes in the previous election that allow people to no reason absentee, anytime registration. Talk to me about some of that and what you're doing at the clerk's office to get ready for the August 3rd election, which is the primary.
Sure. Back in 2018, voters implemented and approved Proposal 3, and that gave us a whole host of changes in how we vote and how we administer our elections. I think you hit the nail on the head with one of them, no reason absentee voting being probably one of the biggest changes. Same day registration was another big one. And so those are two factors that from beginning in 2019, which again was one of those off-year, slower elections, these are still new to voters. They're, as a whole county, kind of the first exposure and experience they had with the elections in post-Proposal 3 world was the presidential primary in 2020. So we're looking at we have an election every August. This is nothing new to us, but they are on the odd years a lot less glamorous, I think, or a lot less attention focused on them. So this election is August 3rd. We have 20 jurisdictions whose voters will go to the ballot. We've got proposals in 5 different areas. We've got Grand Rapids, Grattan Township, Nelson Township, Sparta, and Virgins Township. Then we also, in Kentwood, voters will have a city commission race for Ward 2. And then, of course, we have the Senate special primary for the 28th district, that vacancy there.
I should point out, as we're talking, you're talking as the Kent County Clerk, and of course, everybody that's watching is not necessarily in Kent County. A lot of viewers throughout a 14, 15 county area, so they should check with their county clerk, or they can go online in many cases. You can go on the Secretary of State's website, for example, as I did earlier, plug in your information, and it will show you the ballot that you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. If we want Kent County voters to go to kentcountyvotes.com. That's where they'll find all the information that they need as to whether or not they have an election this August. Again, it's pretty much the entire county outside of kind of the central Kent County, Grand Rapids area, and southeast Kent County. So it's the 28th Senate District plus the city of Grand Rapids. You can get an absentee ballot at kentcountyvotes.com or your local clerk's office, the county clerk's office where you live. And to talk about how to vote, how to register to vote. If you're not registered yet, there is still time if you want to participate in this election. What we ask you to do, because of timing, 2 weeks before the election, any earlier than that, you have to go to your local clerk's office and register if you want to cast a ballot in this election. So by the time, this is Sunday, by the time Tuesday rolls around, you have to register to vote in your local clerk's office.
And so that could be a township office, that could be a city office?
Yes, township and city, not the county or not your Secretary of State's office. You can register to vote there, but you won't be able to participate in the election in August.
So when you talk about registering to vote, this is not a complex issue. I mean, many of us have for years done it when We go to the Secretary of State's office, for example, to get a driver's license. You're asked if you're registered, if you want to. But even though you can do this right up until the time of vote, it really has not changed. It is not complex. So you simply go in, have proof of where you live, and you register, right?
That's right. That's right. We can, part of Proposal 3 also allows for now what we call automatic registration. So if you are doing business at a Secretary of State branch for whatever reason and you are an eligible voter, they will automatically register you to vote unless you opt out. So we're gonna, I think as time goes on, you may find that there are fewer and fewer and fewer eligible voters out there who are not registered, but you know, we'll see. We want people to know that they can register to vote, they can absentee vote, whether that's in person or by mail.
And so for people who, and I think old habits die hard. I even said earlier, it's too late to register. Well, no, it's not too late to register because of those changes that were made. But the same with absentee voting. In the past, absentee voting, and from my perspective, I never felt like it was very stringent, but in theory, you had to be out of town or have a reason for an absentee ballot. Though, again, I would think anybody could have gotten one, but now for sure, everybody can get one. So that's not a matter of thinking about the old rules or having excuses or needing one. You simply request it.
We want to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And one way to make voting convenient is this no reason absentee voting. And you can do that in person, you can do that by mail. We have, but you have to apply for an absentee ballot. We will never ever send a voter a ballot without them having sent us an application first, and that's a big deal. You can get an absentee ballot application at kentcountyvotes.com. You can get it at the Secretary of State's website. You can get it at your local clerk's office. So that's really important for people to know that if they want to vote absentee, they must submit an application to do so.
And what happened in the last cycle is a lot of groups were sending out ballot applications, and I think there was some confusion around that. Let's talk about actual voting in person. For some of those of us who still go to the polls and vote, the COVID pandemic, while we still have variants out there, we know that there are precautions that need to be taken, but polling places will be open, even though there are some changes. On your website I saw in Kent County there's some temporary changes in some of the townships, but people can just show up and vote. We don't have, it's not going to be like it was again in 2020.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of voting in person. I like the experience. I like to bring my kids and have them, be a part of it and participate in what's so great about this country. We are seeing a rise in absentee voting, and I think a lot of that is a result of Proposal 3 and the pandemic. So we'll have to see over these next few elections whether that tapers off or steadies up. So we'll find out. But I do. It is safe and it's secure to go to the election, to go to your polls on Election Day. All of our polling locations are on our website at kentcountyvotes.com. And there's just a lot of things that we are doing, both in my office at the county level and the city and township clerks, to get ready for this election, to make sure that it's secure, that it's accurate, and that it's fair. We're testing our equipment right now. And I want people to know that I view these elections as the people's elections, and we want to be transparent. I want people to participate in this. As we test the equipment, to make sure that the machines work, that they're counting accurately. These are public meetings. These are open to the public, and I want people to go. If they have questions or concerns or are just curious of how the elections work, we have the schedule of our accuracy tests throughout Kent County on kentcountyvotes.com. So check out that schedule and feel free to stop in at one of the testing days that we're doing that. And so we're doing a lot of things to make sure that this election is secure, it's fair, and it's accurate, and we're being transparent about it.
In the last 90 seconds that we have, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, if anybody came away from the last election cycle with concerns, going to one of these tests might be a great way to see how things are really done. But let's talk about what happens in this election. Former Senator Peter McGregor became the Kent County Treasurer and that left his Senate seat open. That's the special Senate seat we're talking about. It's very important because it's representation in Lansing. But what do we know, or what do we think about turnout? It's an August in an off-year election, and again, I point out people generally don't expect to have that kind of a race on the ballot. So what's your thought?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. These off-year, odd-year August elections, they don't see a lot of action. They just don't, and it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. 2019 and 2017, those August elections both had less than 10% voter turnout. In 2015 August election, there was a mayoral race on the ballot in Grand Rapids, and that boosted turnout to about 13%. These races are important, whether it's a bond question or a special primary for your legislative representation. It's really important. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we have an election coming up, that it's secure, it's transparent, it's accurate, it's fair, and hopefully they will get out and vote because it's their election.
And as one who has run for office a number of different times, how difficult must it be to be able to identify which voters are going to turn out in a low turnout election? But that's a conversation for another time. Thank you very much for being with us.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
The state Senate race in Kent County is the 28th district. That's the northern and western part of the county. Interviews with all of the candidates involved in the primary are available right now at woodtv.com in the To The Point section. When we come back, the state budget is still largely unsettled except for one big part of that spending plan. Back with a look at the governor's appearance in West Michigan earlier this week. That's To The Point. Welcome back to The Point. Governor Whitmer and the Republican-controlled legislature have not had a good track record when it comes to getting budgets done. The first year was a disaster at best, and by 2020, COVID had disrupted almost all parts of our economy and government. This year, awash in federal money, and with a nearly $7 billion swing in the estimates for revenue to the good, it looks like the state could easily put together a budget for the next fiscal year. While that will happen, it most certainly did not by the July 1st deadline. Still, when the governor came to East Kentwood High School to sign the loan bill that has been passed, she was pleased at the $17 billion to be spent on education and the fact that for the first time, the standard foundation allowance, that's the per pupil dollar amount of $8,700, is equalized around the state. She highlighted what she sees as important parts of the school aid fund.
So I'm proud to be here today to sign the school aid budget. This is a great day. It makes historic investment in our kids, in our teachers, in our schools all across the state of Michigan. Because this pandemic was hard. It was hard on every single one of us, but especially our kids. I know we talk about how resilient they are, but there's no question they absorbed a lot of the stress as well. Every one of us and every one of them could share stories about the challenges faced. And I'm pretty sure at the heart of each of those stories is a school principal or a bus driver or an educator, or janitor, librarian, someone who went above and beyond to help a student. And as a parent of public school, as a former parent of public school students, they didn't switch schools, they graduated. As a Michigander, I know it is these phenomenal people who make a difference every single day and often are underthanked and underappreciated. And so I can't say it enough, but I want to say thank you, and I think we should all say thank you. So this school bill that I am about to sign puts Michigan students and educators first. It invests over $17 billion to power our schools' efforts to get our kids back on track. And there's a lot in this budget to celebrate, but there are a few things that I want to point out in particular. First, we are eliminating the funding gap between schools without raising taxes. This was a promise from 1994 when we passed Proposal A. Now, tell you how young my team is, they said, can we get a school picture of you from 1994? I was out of school by 1994. Had there been an awkward picture of me at that age, I would have sent it on. But this budget invests $723 million to ensure that every school has the same baseline funding of $8,700 per pupil. And that is a huge win. Closing this funding gap means that every district can hire more top-notch teachers and bring on more nurses and psychologists and school social workers to help our students. It means updated textbooks and upgraded facilities and new sports equipment. This has been the goal on our books since 1994, as I mentioned. That's almost 30 years ago. We're doing it this year, and it is phenomenal. And you think about this, we've been chasing this goal longer than any of these students has been alive. Today, we get to realize it. And well, I'm not gonna quote President Biden, but it's a big deal. I know, I'm colorful too, but I just can't even go there. All right. I do want to clarify, however, that equal funding does not mean we've achieved equity. We have more work to do in that space. We recognize that funding should increase with student need, and I'm proud that we are taking steps toward the weighted foundation formula in this budget too. It's a historic milestone, but our work must continue. Closing the funding gap is truly the headliner of this budget, but we're not stopping there. There's so much good in here. Here in Michigan, we've got one of the top preschool programs in the nation. Most Michiganders don't even know that GSRP is truly nationally recognized for the incredible work. Yeah. I have a feeling we got some early educators over in this section. Before today, 22,000 Michigan kids were eligible for the program but could not be served due to a lack of funds. That's no more as of today. This budget expands access to our homegrown preschool program, Great Start Readiness Program, for every eligible 4-year-old in Michigan. This ensures that just like their higher income peers, our youngest Michiganders all have an opportunity to thrive in grade school. We're going to expand access to quality. Our preschool programs helps more than just our kids. It helps all Michiganders get back to work and have confidence in this next generation. Every parent needs a safe place for their child while they work. We're committed to supporting a quality, affordable option for all parents, and that's what GSRP is, and it's a great start. You've heard me say we need comprehensive student recovery again and again. We want students to thrive academically, mentally, emotionally, physically. I'm especially proud that this year we have included an additional $240 million for wraparound services. Now these are critical services. This means services like psychologists and school social workers, counselors, and nurses. We're supporting these unsung heroes who work behind the scenes to keep our students healthy and safe at school, who oftentimes are so outnumbered, their work is almost impossible. So best of all, these dollars will allow districts to address the most pressing need with wraparound services as our students come back, and they certainly will have the support they need. We've also allocated funding for many other critical programs and resources that support our teachers and students. We included $90 million for special education reimbursement for our school districts to help them with the costs of special education services that they provide to our students with unique learning needs. We've dedicated $54 million to mental health and support services to fund critical safety measures like suicide prevention. We are continuing to invest in literacy coaches and quality professional development to get all kids on track by 3rd grade. And I think we'll do even more work on that front, and I'm excited about it. There are investments in early education, online mathematics tools, targeted literacy instruction, and I could go on because this is a big bill. But I'm just going to highlight a few more things. Today's bill will work in tandem with the $4.4 billion bipartisan education supplemental bill that I signed last week. This is an incredible opportunity for us. These federal funds will help us reopen schools safely, ensure that they continue to operate safely, and support our students' social, emotional, and mental health and academic needs. With that supplemental bill alongside today's school aid budget bill, which uses state dollars, we're going to make monumental improvements in the education system for all of our kids and educators in Michigan. Each of these investments in our kids and schools will help us continue our economic jumpstart. Every policy that we are pursuing right now is laser focused on helping us emerge from this pandemic stronger than ever for everyone. We have an unprecedented opportunity to use these federal stimulus funds and our $3.5 billion state budget surplus to continue investing in our families, small businesses, and communities. So we've rolled out our economic jumpstart plan to expand child care and grant small businesses grants. We've proposed bold investments in our state and local parks. We're bolstering our workforce programs to help people get better paying jobs and ensure employers can meet their talent needs. And we're also continuing our efforts to ensure more Michiganders get vaccinated through our My Shot to Win sweepstakes, which continues to attract more and more Michiganders every day. Over 1.6 million people have signed up to win cash prizes, and if you've been vaccinated and not yet signed up, what are you waiting for? We're gonna draw $1 million winner tomorrow. We're gonna announce that. And every day for the rest of the month, big prizes. So I encourage you, if you've gotten your shot, get registered, and if you haven't, get your shot and get registered. Tomorrow we'll be announcing the first week's worth of winners of the $50,000 daily drawings. So early indicators are that our efforts to jumpstart the economy are working. We went from a projected $3 billion deficit to a $3.5 billion surplus in the span of 12 months. Our unemployment rate is lower than the national average. Our GDP growth is the highest in the Midwest. An independent analysis from financial publication Credible states that our economic recovery is the second strongest in the nation. And even in the midst of all this, Fitch and S&P upgraded our state credit rating, which means we can get more roads paved. I know you love the roads too. Which means when our credit rating is high, we can do more with what we have. So this is all a testament to the incredible will and strength of the people of our state and the management that we have been able to do together through the most unimaginable circumstances. I am proud to be the governor of the state of Michigan. I am grateful for the incredible work that you do every single day, and signing this budget is one of the highlights of my time as governor of Michigan.
When the governor finished, I asked her about the rest of the budget. Governor, this is the first budget that you're signing. You had hoped that there would be a bunch of them to sign by July 1st. I'm now hearing some estimates from lawmakers that it could be the end of August before the rest of the bills are done. Are you satisfied if that's the pace of getting this budget put together, the total budget put together?
Well, the legislature had a statutory duty to get the budgets to my desk by July 1. We've got one, and it's a good one. I'm happy with that. But I would like to see the pace of the rest of the budgets get done similarly and quickly. I know that schools are starting their fiscal years. This is a great and necessary time where they're making the plans for what's going to happen in just 6 to 8 weeks, right, depending on the district. But the same can be said for municipalities across the state. The same can be said in all aspects of our planning. And so I am hopeful that the legislature, when they do come back, I think they've got a day this week or a day next week, something like that, I hope that they will get some more budgets done, negotiated budgets with my state budget office, because this shows what we are capable of when we put the priorities of the people of Michigan before anything else. So I would like to see that happen quickly. The quicker, the better.
The Michigan House has 4 session days scheduled between now and September. There are 3 in the Senate. Now, more could be added as budgets are agreed to. We'll continue to track that, and we'll be back with a final thought next. To the point. Over the next 3 weeks, we'll step aside for the Olympics and other special programming that will be coming your way on Saturday and Sunday. But beginning August 14th, we'll be back every weekend with the latest developments on the state budget that may still not be resolved and all things politics from Washington to Lansing. Enjoy the Olympics. We'll see you in August. To the point.